Okay, it is a wild day today. It is the November 3rd elections, and although at this particular moment we don't know who's going to win, what we do know is that after this is going to equal some stability. Now, I'm thinking closer to springtime, but in the meantime, today let's go over the markets, take a look at the volatility. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin, the S&P 500. We're going to take a quick look at Chainlink and Ethereum. I will also look at the volatility index to give a general sentiment about where we are in the markets. But with that in mind, let's okay, so on the chart there now, you should have Bitcoin on the daily. I'm going to zoom out here, make it a little clearer. Now, one of the things I think that's important is to always have a calm, future-facing outlook for what we're doing here. For a few reasons, not the least of which being it makes us make better choices when we come to things clear. So I usually try to meditate in the morning. If I'm doing really well, I'll go for runs and stuff too. I'll work out to make sure I have all that extra energy dispersed with so I can make clearer, concise decisions. So right now, we're at a very interesting spot. Now, I was off the last few days getting settled back in. We lost our power because there's like a hurricane going through. And on the 4 hour, actually on the 45-minute right now, there's a reason to make an argument that we're actually witnessing a distribution top here. So we're going to be paying really close attention to this trading range here. This could actually be reaccumulation here as well. So I'm not convinced either way, but it does make a difference. So if we see this as the UT and this is the UTAD, what we're looking for is a last point of supply recheck and then closing below this trading range. If we start to close below 13,100, we're definitely going to come back lower, and that might be either the finalization of the SOS or we continue on to make a further kind of out gamble here. So say we came back down, we came back down to the middle of the regression line, formed a new trading range here at around 12,500 before getting that kind of hypodermic top to 16,000 that we've been looking for. That would be really nice. Even if we don't, even if this SOS is kind of Bitcoin's culmination of, although I don't think it actually is, I don't think it's the culmination of its expression point upwards yet, or its climax per se. We're going to be looking for the strength here in our ecosystem to really help us define what comes next. So I've long said multiple times here that I thought the SOS would go as high as like 14, maybe even 16,000. See, we hit 14,000, but I'm thinking like 16,000, something like this, before we see a direct top. But this is, again, really hyper dependent on kind of what happens over the next month or two. Now, again, I'm going to make a side point here and say that most of the time, well, actually all the time now, for the SOSs, I'm exiting 90 to 100% of my position. And after this kind of fall time, we'll call it, I'm just going to be leaving the markets mostly in general because it's been boring as so. The fun time, I think, actually comes near the spring after everything is settled down and things are going a little smoother. So if we take a look at Ethereum here, for those of you that have been studying with us, you will recognize that we're seeing something very similar. We had our nice SOS come out top. We had the first part of our reaccumulation range, and then we came into this backup phase. Now, excuse the messiness on my chart here. I think we're in the final stages of this backup phase for Ethereum. I've made it a clear sentiment, and I might have to repeat myself here, but wait till the backup phase turns around before you think about making entries. If you hadn't made entries into Ethereum for long positions here already, I had started to build my positions there already, so I'm not too concerned about it. But once it starts to turn around and I see a very clear indication that we're getting secondary SOSs and LPSs, let's say something like this, then then I'm going to be making a much greater, I guess, distinction into my long play with Ethereum. With Bitcoin, I'm much more interested in waiting until the SOS phase completes and the backup completes, because then from there, I'm just going to be leaning into longs, probably for the rest of the bull market cycle into Bitcoin. So that's quite exciting. So with Ethereum here, obviously, guys, we have a big gap. So if something goes critically wrong, we have a big downside here up to the 786 of around $250 Ethereum. So I do have a stop loss set on my play here. I made most of my entries back at around 345, and I made a few more here at 360 at this range. But if that, barring, you know, calamity, which at this point could happen, so I'm not going to take it out of my thesis, I'm looking for the SOS and an LPS phases to continue up outside of Ethereum here. Now, if we take a look at Link, as we've been going over Link as well, we've kind of stubbed up into this trading range, and we've gone over this a few times in the private bear group. My original kind of insight was that Link was going to retrace to around 10.7. This very strong VPVR line here, at least for the trading range that we're in. We've dipped below that and we're on our way to the final parts of the trading range. So this is why I never just enter in an SOS. I wait until the backup phase not only completes, but starts to turn around. Because it's much more interesting to me to be on the right side of the trade instead of to be early. Those last eights kill some of the world's best. Because if you try to get in too early, well, you may be wrong and it's going to go down. You try to get in too late, well, you're just catching the last part of the trade and it's going to turn around right after you get in, which is actually where most people make mistakes. They get in right at the very last part of the trade when you should be exiting. That's when a lot of retail traders start entering. So at Link here, I'm still waiting for this trading range to complete here before I get too excited about it. As soon as we see this backup and SOS phase complete itself and it continues higher, I think, again, this will likely coincide with the rest of the bull market, and it could take us out until November to December to really see, to December, January, to really see that there is this strength in this market still. So I haven't built my position into Chainlink yet, but it is still looking quite positive. Again, I'm suspecting we stay above this trading range and continue outwards, but until the backup phase turns around, I don't make entries. That's one of the big lessons I've learned. And at the SOS, I exit almost all of my entry, unless it's something like Bitcoin, in which case, everyone, in case you're wondering, I go back into Bitcoin. I'm not like, oh, I'm done with my Ethereum trade, I'm gonna sit in US dollars. No, I would rather be in Bitcoin, even if it goes down to 3 grand, than be in US dollars, because if I need more US dollars, I have a bank card. Anyways, that's besides the point. I'm going to finalize today's episode by taking a look at the S&P 500 on the daily here. And again, the kind of weird assertion is that, are we making a new reaccumulation range? So let's say this was the bottom. We saw a spike up. Are we seeing a reaccumulation before we see further markup in the price? And that's going to be really interesting. If and when either the S&P 500 closes above the box or below the box, this is going to be very telling for our ecosystem. Now, last week we saw for the first time Bitcoin's price during the volatility of the S&P 500 and of the volatility index actually went up over top, again increasing the likelihood that demand is overtaking supply. I think these are very key indicators to watch out for, yet we're still early. Right? Remember that my assertion is that springtime, which for those of you who don't know is like March, is going to be where the real fun starts again. I believe that it's pretty much spring till fall. Who would have thought? Spring till fall is the fun time, at least where you can wear less clothes and go dancing on the beaches, right? Because right now it's going to be pretty cold to go do so. But nonetheless, if we go up to the volatility index here, what's interesting today is we actually have a decrease in the volatility. So with the elections right around the corner, today, we actually see a decreased volatility spread here of around 3 points. Now, again, what I want to point out is that we've actually spiked up to highs that we had not seen since there were kind of protests in the street back in May after the protests in the street. So the fact that our volatility index is this high right now is quite telling. I think that people are very on edge. And then just lastly here, if we take a look at Bitcoin, it's starting to show that upward strength again. And I think, again, that this is so important to keep an eye on, because if we break out of this trading range and, more importantly, close above the top of this, I do believe we're going to get that $16,000 sooner than later. And I do also believe that that is going to be a very big, clear signal that we're basically right at the very, very beginning of a bull market. And that is something that is very, very exciting. So we'll leave it at that for the day. I can see that everything is going well in the markets. Everything's kind of jumping up right now. You got Ethereum up at 383 now, making a recovery. Bitcoin, again, making its recovery up at 13,645. Keeping a really close eye on this. And I'll actually kind of finalize here because we were seeing some bullish divergence or bearish divergence come out in the market set itself here too. So I'll just point this out of why it might be distribution. You have a rising price with a falling RSI pretty consistently on the charts there. So rising price, falling RSI. Anyways, we'll leave it at that. Give us the thumbs up if you like this video, because that's one way you can help support us. If you would like to, you can join the private bear den. Remember, there's no questions refund guaranteed if you're not happy, and although we have very few people that are unhappy. I think we've only given maybe a few refunds, like 3 or 4 the last 3 months. So thank you guys for all that support. Join in the links down below, and I'm really excited for the next bout of trades that we get in here, because once the market starts, we're going to have as much fun as we did between May and August, which was incredible. So thank you guys all for joining us. We'll see you again on the other side. Let's see, bloop.